Hey everyone, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Bethany, and today's recipe I'm going to be showing you how to make ratatouille. If you are like me and you have a garden that is abundant in vegetables right now that need to be used up, this is the perfect recipe and it is so delicious. It's a great side dish to pair with any of your favorite summer dishes. So let's get right into it. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is get all of our vegetables sliced up for the ratatouille because those need to sit for a little bit while we prep some other stuff. So for the vegetables, we're going to be doing an assortment of stuff, so you can really use whatever's in your garden, but what's typical in a ratatouille is we're going to use some eggplant, some green zucchini, and some yellow squash. And then we have some Roma tomatoes. You can also just use whatever tomato you're growing in your garden, but this is pretty common in a ratatouille. And what we're gonna do is just slice into 1/8 of an inch slices. And I'm gonna do this by knife with my eggplant. They don't need to be perfect, but it is better to err on the side of thinner than thicker. And we'll cut our tomatoes in the same thickness, 1/8 of an inch. All right. We're gonna put our tomatoes and all our other vegetables on some pans. So I have some cookie sheets. And what I'm gonna do is sprinkle just a little bit of salt on the bottom of the pan so that we can get both sides of the vegetables. And then we're gonna lay everything out here. They can overlap a little bit because we do have a good amount of stuff that we need to fit on here. So our tomatoes are done, and for our squash, zucchini, I'm gonna use a mandolin slicer because it will get it done faster. The other ones I can't really fit on here, but we'll do this at 1/8 of an inch on a mandolin slicer. Okay, so before I put the eggplant on, what I wanna do, since my eggplant is on the larger side than compared to everything else, we're just gonna quarter these so that they can match the zucchini and the tomato size so that we don't have really big eggplant slices and then really tiny other pieces. So we'll just do that in quarters and lay those on this pan. The majority of this recipe is lots of chopping, lots of prepping vegetables, so the best thing to do is to put some music on. I was listening to oldies when I was making this, and it was actually really nice. So it's kind of one of those things where you just sit back and enjoy prepping all the things that you have to, but it's rewarding in the end because it's a great dish. All right, then after we've sliced everything and laid it out in a pan, we're gonna just salt everything. Not crazy, but just a nice healthy pinch to cover everything. We really wanna draw out the moisture in all of the vegetables. So now we're gonna set this to the side. You want these to sit for 30 minutes at least. You could even do it up to an hour, but I like to get things moving, so this is the perfect time for this to sit aside, and we're gonna move on to prepping our sauce. All right, now we're gonna be making our sauce for the ratatouille, and what I did was I wanna add a roasted red pepper to this. So I took a red bell pepper and I just fire roasted this over my gas range. I put like a little baking rack over it so that we could sit it on there and just fire roasted it. But you could also do that if you don't have a gas range in like a dry skillet on top of that and just brown it in there or roast it in the oven, whatever you like. I just like to add a little bit more flavor rather than just putting it in and sauteing it with everything. And I'm covering it with foil because I want it to steam so that I can get that skin off, because we're not gonna put all that charredness in there, but we'll get the flavor. But for the base of our sauce, we're gonna do kind of a simple sofrito. It's gonna be a smaller version. So we're not using as many vegetables, But we're gonna do 2/3 of a medium-sized onion, or if you have a small yellow onion, that works too. And we'll dice that up small. We're gonna add 2 to 3 tablespoons in a medium-sized pan. You can do a Dutch oven. I actually usually do that, but I figured this would be better for you to see everything. And we'll add our onion to that. Then next we have our celery from the garden and carrot. I'm like very proud of my vegetables from my garden. But we're just gonna use 1 celery stalk and 1 carrot. And I have some bug action on the celery, so I'm gonna cut that part off. And we'll just dice that up. Then we'll add our celery to the onion. I'm gonna stir that up while we're chopping our carrot. Gonna add a generous pinch of salt to the sofrito that we're making. This would be known as a mirepoix in French cooking because ratatouille is French. And a little bit of bug action on this carrot, so I'm gonna cut that off. Okay. And we're gonna saute these vegetables. I'm gonna turn this up, and we'll just soften these for a couple minutes and prep our other ingredients while that cooks. So for our pepper, I'm just gonna take paper towels and just pull off that charred covering on the skin. And this doesn't have to be perfect, we're just taking the majority of it off. I actually do want a little bit of that charredness, so it doesn't have to be fully cleaned off. So our vegetables have been cooking for about 3 to 4 minutes. They're softened now, so I'm gonna add the garlic. We're gonna do 4 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna press these in. All right, so we're gonna mix that in with our sofrito or our mirepoix. And then for a little touch of heat, nothing spicy, we're gonna add a pinch of red pepper flakes. All right, then we're gonna add our roasted red pepper. So we're gonna be using about 4 Roma tomatoes. You really can use whatever tomatoes are in your garden though. I'm actually bummed that my tomatoes are just coming in, so I didn't have enough for this recipe. And we'll just chop these tomatoes up, add them to our vegetables. And I'm not peeling them. I know that a lot of people like to peel the tomatoes. I just like to do this in a more rustic way. I don't wanna make this dish more complicated than it needs to be. It already has a lot of steps and a lot of prepping. So I just think you don't need to remove the skin. We're blending everything. You'll never notice it was on the tomatoes. All right, the last of the tomatoes. And we'll mix that in there. And we're gonna add a generous pinch of salt. And then we're also going to add a little bit more garlic. I like to layer sometimes with garlic powder and raw garlic. So we're gonna do 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then we'll add 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Then we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of fresh thyme from the garden. All right, so our vegetables have been cooking for about 8 to 10 minutes, which is about the time that we want them to cook. They're not gonna really turn into a sauce. We don't have that much tomatoes in there, but that's fine. So we're going to next add a splash of red wine. So a generous splash, no real measurement. This is just gonna add a nice depth of flavor to it because we're not really cooking this sauce for very long, so we want to find ways to develop more flavor so that it can be very tasty in the end. And we'll just cook that with the vegetables for about 2 minutes. And then we're going to add some basil, and we're just gonna tear this right in. All right, so after we cook all of our vegetables, we're gonna put that in a blender, or you could also use an immersion blender as well and just stick that in here. Might be a little harder, but we're just gonna transfer all of this to a blender. We'll blend this on high for about 30 seconds. All right, so I just want to taste this before I put it in the dish because I don't want it to be under-seasoned. Has really good flavor. I'm gonna put a little bit more salt in there, a little bit more black pepper, and then I'll just blend that together. All right, so our vegetables have been sitting and salting this whole time. So we're just gonna take some paper towels and pat them over the top. All right, so the dish that I'm gonna be using for cooking all this in is gonna be a cast iron brazier. And this is enameled, so I don't have to worry about the tomatoes messing with the cast iron. But you can use any dish you like. It just needs to be big enough because we're gonna be making this into a nice little pattern. So first we're gonna put our sauce that we pureed in the bottom of our pan. Then this is the part that I'm not great at, is doing the ratatouille design. You don't have to do this perfectly. It will come out looking great no matter what. We're gonna take one of each. So we'll take a tomato, we'll take a zucchini, yellow squash, and eggplant. And then you're just gonna do that same pattern around. So what I like to do is just kind of first get the pattern in my hand. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The one time when I was testing this, I just kind of was like I wasn't making it into an official pattern. So just first get it going in your hand, and then we're gonna just lay it in the dish like that. And continue. We're gonna build a circular pattern with that, and you can do one big circle and then one little one. And I have more zucchini than I have tomatoes, so you can always double up on those layers too to make room for making sure you have enough tomato. All right, so we finished arranging everything. It looks beautiful, but I did have to have Drew come in and help me because this does take a good bit. This is definitely a tedious recipe, but it's beautiful and delicious. So now we can get this ready for the oven, and we're gonna cover this. Put this in the oven at 375. We're going to bake this for 45 minutes. And then at the end, I'm gonna put about a half a cup of freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano cheese on top. We'll broil it for another 1 to 2 minutes, and then we can serve it. All right, so the ratatouille is out of the oven and Mom is here to taste.
And I love being a taste tester.
Yeah, so this actually turned out way better looking than I thought it was going to.
It's really pretty.
It is. So
I still don't know what the ingredients are yet, so I'm really interested to know what they are.
Yeah, you've never had this. So we did, the sauce is red peppers, carrot from my garden, celery from my garden, and tomatoes.
So you pureed it?
Yeah, you cook everything with some onion, garlic, and I did a little bit of red wine in it. And then, yeah, you just kind of cook that.
And the vegetables are?
Zucchini. She's not a big zucchini and eggplant fan.
So this is going to be interesting to see. I
zucchini,
like eggplant.
Yeah, eggplant and tomato. So you can go ahead and try it.
Try a little. Delicious.
Yeah.
Like a little bit like eggplant parm, but nice and fresh. It tastes like everything from the garden that you're growing. Not that I'm growing that, but you know, people like zucchini and it's delicious. It looks very colorful. I probably would add a pasta or sausage on the side.
Yeah.
You know, something on the side. But yeah, it's delicious. I like the sauce. It's really good.
Yeah, and we have a fire roasted red pepper that I put over the fire.
Nice.
So that's in there too. So that's why it's kind of that creamy orange color.
On the fresh basil.
Yes, fresh basil and thyme.
Okay, well, I have to go hit your garden up. I'm glad I'm taking some home for dinner.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. But I think it's delicious. I love the sauce that's in the dish. It's, like you said, it's just really fresh. It tastes like it was made from vegetables in the garden. And I love the cheese on top. That's not really common in a lot of ratatouilles. So I like that Italian touch with the Parmigiano Reggiano. It adds just a nice saltiness, a cheesiness that I think the dish needs. But yes, this is just such a fresh and beautiful and impressive dish.
Really
If you're,
is.
I feel like if you're hosting,
Yes.
this is a beautiful dish to prepare or bring, and you can pair this with, like Mom said, some sausage or pasta or grilled chicken or anything. It's a great side dish for anything like that. So I hope you guys enjoy it and try it out. And if you do, you can always leave a comment below and let me know. And as always, I'll catch you in the next recipe and I'll see you in the comments.